Okay, so the record we're going to be talking about today is the soundtrack to Stranger Things Season 5. So if you've watched my other videos, I've also done Seasons 1, 2, 3 and 4, showing off the bits of vinyl, some great bits in there, some great kind of inserts. So I've been waiting for this for a while. Now, my only gripe with it is I'm sure when they started advertising this, there was 2 vinyl with it, because what they normally do is release a vinyl with the tracks that would have been played on the radio at that particular time. And then they normally release another one, which is kind of the soundtrack, the kind of atmospheric stuff for the season. I'm sure they advertised that, but this is all that's come out. It's the tracks played from the actual season. Let me know in the comments below if you thought there was another vinyl coming out with the actual soundtrack coming out. Normally kind of release 2 vinyls. I do feel they kind of give up on this season. I love the season. I thought the season was great. I'm a massive Stranger Things fan. It's my all-time favourite programme. Everything about it, the aesthetics, everything. The music played in it, the soundtrack. But I do feel they've kind of dropped the penny a little bit on when it comes to this season. Because they've just got a 1 vinyl soundtrack release. I'm going to go through that in a second. Even the figures that came out for this season were a bit kind of naff. And like they just franchised it out to every motherfucker that sold anything, which kind of cheapened the brand, to be honest. I used to go into shops every day and there'd be another, oh, there's a Stranger Things this, Stranger Things that, or there's Stranger Things sock. There was just so much of it. But it was all tat, if I can be honest. Whereas if we look at all the other seasons, a lot of thought and effort went into the vinyl soundtracks, the coloured vinyl. You had inserts, you had posters, the figures were great. Everything was just great, but I do think they dropped the ball a little bit with this season. As I said, I was positive there was going to be 2 vinyl, one with the tracks and one with the soundtrack stuff. Well, anyway, this is turned up. And it came out at the end of January. Considering Stranger Things finished at the beginning of January, I think they kind of capitalise on the fact that the hype behind Stranger Things, as everyone else did. So I do think they missed the boat, but it's a great piece of vinyl. It's a great one to kind of finish off the Stranger Things vinyl or soundtrack collection. So the front cover is the classic one that's been used quite a lot. You've got the gang at the front, you've got the Mind Flayer at the top here, and you've got One Last Adventure. It did come out on coloured vinyl, black vinyl, I know it's obviously CD. I've got the coloured vinyl, and obviously you know me, my hype stickers. Music from Season 5 of the Netflix series, limited edition, Marble Sea Blue vinyl, and it's a really good looking vinyl actually. I'm going to show that in a sec. Obviously Stranger Things 5, soundtrack for the Netflix series. Is it though? So when you turn it over, you've got a great image. You've got Hopper and 11 staring at the wall in the upside down. Great image. The kind of tracks on here, I mean, there's a good section of tracks. I mean, you've got some of the obvious ones. I think We're Alone Now by Tiffany, which is a great track from the 80s. You've got Mr. Sandman of the Chordettes, which is just great. It's quite eerie, that track as well. You've got Pretty in Pink by the Psychedelic Furs. You've got Heroes, David Bowie. You've even got Iron Maiden, The Trooper, which is just a classic track. But what I do like about this, there's some tracks on here that weren't obvious. You know, sometimes these soundtracks can sound like an 80s kind of soundtrack, you know, with all the kind of obvious hits on it. But there's a couple on here by bands that weren't huge, but the tracks were great. You know, you've got Cowboy Junkies, you've got Butthole Surfers, you've got Yella. So there's quite a few tracks on here that you wouldn't normally see on a soundtrack. So it's good to see that. It's great to kind of listen through this. And obviously they've got the Pixies, Here Comes Your Man, which is just, I'm a massive fan of the Pixies. So it is a good compilation. Now my only thing I would say about it, the final finale track, David Bowie Heroes, even though it's one of my favourite tracks, I do think they missed the boat because obviously Steve in his band that he does outside of acting had that big track that just got to #1. That would have been the perfect track to finish off Stranger Things. I don't know why. Maybe it's a licensing thing, and people just look at that as the unofficial theme to see season 5, the final finale, and that's why it hit #1. But it would have been great to kind of see that on here because every time I listen to that track, it just shouts out "end of season 5" all over it. Maybe they might do it in the future. So inside, now this is the other thing I'm kind of disappointed about. As I said, when they normally kind of release like seasons 1 to 4, they release the tracks that I played of the era. Also, there's another vinyl which is kind of the soundtracky stuff, the more musical synth-laden stuff, with like inserts and imagery and sometimes posters and coloured vinyl. They haven't done that for this one. As I said, I'm sure it was supposed to come out on another piece of vinyl with the soundtrack stuff, but I can't find the head and the tail of it. I do think they missed a boat, because when you open it up, yes, you've got the inner sleeve, some great imagery from the season. Great. There. But where's the posters? Where's the double vinyl? Where's, you know, it's just like they've just rushed it out. Even though the coloured vinyl is great. So the vinyl is marble sea blue vinyl. I mean, look at that. Look how gorgeous that looks. Season 5, Netflix. And I know this did come out in black vinyl and CD, and obviously this coloured vinyl. But that is it for Stranger Things Season 5 soundtrack. I do think they missed the boat out on this, or dropped the ball, as they would say. But it's still great to have it in the collection to kind of finish off that whole Stranger Things soundtrack vinyl, which I'm sure the next few years are going to go up in price. It's definitely something to add to your collection, just to finish it off. But I do feel they could have done more with this. So that is Stranger Things Season 5 soundtrack with some great tracks on it. If you can get the marble, at least get the marble coloured edition. At least there's something unique about it. Great. See you in the next video.